What's up, crew? Just Larry here, and I'm here with my friend and sales legend, Dylan at Serial Sales. If you're tuning in for the first time, this is my podcast here, and really my intention is just to capture the stories of people in the entrepreneur space. So, Dylan, for anyone who doesn't know you, man, feel free to introduce who you are, your story, and all that jazz.
Cool. Yeah. Well, you did a decent job. I'm Dylan. I'm out of Texas, born and raised. First time in New York right now, which is the city never sleeps. I'll tell you what. And yeah, man, just got into sales and ran with it. Found sales, found it to be the vehicle.
Yeah.
Ran with it. Got into opportunities with more leverage, and that's what I'm doing today. So,
dude, so tell us a little bit about what's funny, right? Because Dylan has the sales podcast himself. And we were talking before this. He's like, I'm always the one usually like interviewing people.
Yeah.
And I thought it'd be really cool for you to kind of go a little bit deeper to whoever's watching this, kind of your story. Like what I'm curious about is like, where did you start? Did you start off in sales? Did you do like kind of like the typical 9 to 5? Like where did you begin and what was kind of that initial conception point there?
Yeah. So I told you, but this is my first time being a guest on a podcast. I've probably ran like 40 where I'm the host. So it is a different seat for sure.
Right.
I don't know. Let me start by like saying when I was younger, like I never knew what I wanted to do or to be, but I knew what I wanted in my life, which was like autonomy, freedom, being able to provide at a high level.
Right.
And being like available, like having the time to spend with my loved ones and still provide at a high level.
That's good.
And I think that led me into the path of like online money. Because, when you're a teenager and you're looking at your options, you're like, okay, I could be this profession, this one, I go to school, whatever. But I was like, dude, these online money guys, like they live it up. Like they travel around, all you need is your laptop and some Wi-Fi and they're making more than, a career individual in a lot of cases.
Yeah, man.
So I think it was like 2017, man. I found Money Twitter, got into like the e-com copywriting side of it. Nate Schmidt is the dude that I found, if you're familiar with him. And I tried and I failed a lot of things, a lot of things. So that's kind of how I got in. I don't know how deep I should go on that, but
I think it's great. Like what's funny is I kind of followed a similar path, right? Like we talked about, funny enough, this type of stuff last year when I was on your podcast around this time. And I actually didn't find high ticket sales right away, right? Like I was kind of going through the stereotypical 9 to 5, worked through tech sales, then eventually found e-commerce dropshipping. Like I think it was around that same time, 2016, 2017, where I found dropshipping. I guess for you, what made you go from the initial, e-com money-making online business models to then finding online remote sales? Like how did that journey kind of look like for you?
Well, I had no money. And so e-com is hard it's not like it is today. Like I was looking at Facebook ads, drop shipping, right? Yeah. Like the old school Facebook ads, Shopify, like AliExpress kind of stuff, not the TikTok UGC or Amazon FBA,
right?
Where you can do it with a little less. So I got into copywriting because Nate Schmidt and some of these other guys were like, well, we're funding e-com with copywriting. We didn't have money, but we did copywriting to get there. And honestly, there was a lot of things that happened between that point and me finding remote sales, but I did end up not really gaining much traction. Like I got a client, I sold some products and I had like very small wins in that industry, but I ended up like finishing out my degree. So by that time I was in college, construction science degree. And so construction science degree, business administration minor. And my thought was like worst case scenario, I can always go and make $60K a year with this. Like it's a safety net. Also, I come from like military parent background. So like college wasn't really so much of an option. They're like, you're going to go, like you just got to figure it out because it's paid for. So I didn't want to be like ungrateful about it.
100%. That's good, man. I think that is such a key thing because, the normal like quote unquote propaganda of money Twitter is like, screw college, like F that, you don't need to go. Which like, hey, there's a certain extent of that where it is true, right? Kind of the return on your investment, all that stuff. But I'm going to similar to you. Like I finished college. I was building my stuff on the side while I was going through college, and I think it was pivotal in helping me kind of get set up for really running my business and kind of having that critical thinking.
Yeah.
And it was kind of similar to you. Like college was not like, should I go or should I not? It's like I had to.
It's just what you do next.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
So that being said, like, so you finish college, you're going through that whole thing. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that you kind of started in like traditional sales first, right? Kind of like, was it like roofing sales, solar sales, or something like kind of door to door? Like, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, dude. So it was actually interesting how I landed in sales. Like, I think by nature and growing up, I never thought sales was like my path. Like, I've always been more of like kind of to myself, reserved, like almost more of that like engineer path. I almost went into engineering, but I didn't. So I ended up construction science degree, and I got a project management internship with a roofing company in San Antonio.
Dope.
And a couple of hurdles that I face is one, I didn't speak Spanish, and so being in San Antonio, working like managing the crews, like I had a difficult time doing that. Two, the company just so happened to be opening an estimating position, which I studied estimate, like I took estimating classes in school, so it's like I know how to do that, and I knew they were making more money, so I went into it. Then I got into it, and I realized like the estimates don't sell themselves. Like this is actually a sales job.
Damn.
Where you need to know how to estimate. And so I just dove in. Like I saw the opportunity in front of me. I knew the dude I kind of like stepped into his place. He was making over $100,000 per year, and I shadowed him one day on an appointment into someone's house, an inbound appointment, right?
Right.
And we do our inspection, all that stuff. We come back down into the house. He's written it up and put a little effort into it. And he's at the table, like shaking, like his voice is shaky. His hands are like visibly shaking. And these people were so nice. Like it was a nice house. They had money, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And he's shaking. He's nervous. I don't know if that was normal or it's because I was shadowing him. And I was like, dude, if this guy is making 100K per year, I don't care what my like, I don't know. I don't care what I think I can and can't do. I know I can do better than this.
Yeah, 100%.
And I just ran with it. So I got into that estimating with sales, and then ran with that for a few years and fell in love.
Dude, that's epic. Yeah, and I think there's that for anyone out there who's like, you know, more in a traditional sales setting world, so maybe tech sales or door to door, or even just like, you know, I consider like retail a form of sales. Like obviously, like you have to sell. So I think some of the best, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is my observation, is some of the best people in high ticket sales had kind of that more grittier sales background before, right?
Yeah.
Like I was an SDR pounding cold calls for tech companies. You were obviously, you know, doing estimates and running in-person sales process. So that being said, what do you feel like was the biggest lesson that you got from that, you know, kind of training arc that then allowed you to step into high ticket? What was kind of the biggest takeaway from that?
I think it's just like going through the hard part, because when people, and it is possible, but when people come in straight to inbound appointment setting, inbound closing, they're missing out on a very foundational piece, which is doing the hard part, which is knocking doors like I was doing, or cold calling like you were doing. Because then you have such a greater appreciation for the inbound. But also there's a level of, I think, just like work ethic that you need to implement, because with doors or with cold calling, the only way you hit your targets is by setting your outputs and then hitting those and holding yourself accountable. And a lot of people, when they go straight to the inbound stuff, they don't have that. So you it's hard to like teach that to them. So I would say that it's just doing the hard part and holding yourself accountable, and then the results follow.
Dude, that's so good. Because I think, and this is a little bit of I'm going to be very real here when I say this, but some of my sales reps that I've managed who are a little bit younger, or maybe not even younger, but their first sales role is high ticket, and they're going through inbound. I'm not going to lie, like they're a little bit soft in the mentality because they don't have kind of that like hunger or grit. Like when I came from tech sales and I realized that things could be inbound and high ticket, I was like, holy crap, this just makes the game so much easier.
Yeah.
That's what I've realized. And I think, I know you obviously, you know, you manage a lot of people and you train a lot of sales reps. What do you feel like are the common top traits of your most successful people you manage, and then maybe some of those people who might be a little bit more bottom of the barrel, like what kind of traits do you find amongst them?
Yeah. The top ones usually come from a different background, like tech or uh, in-home sales kind
Yeah.
of thing. They're usually a little bit older. Like most of our teams, I'm the youngest person being a part of that team, and I'm 26. And
Yeah.
these guys are like late 20s, 30s. I don't know if we have anyone 40s, but actually we do. So I'm usually the youngest one. A lot of these
That's dope.
people, they come in and they hire like 17-year-old kids to close deals. Like you sell I don't know, a coaching offer on how to acquire a small business. Like why would you have a 17-year-old kid closing a $10,000 package, cold traffic? It doesn't make sense. So one is
Yeah.
like the professional background. And then I think I talk about this a lot, but like the what is it? The season of life that you're in, because I don't like people can have awesome stuff on paper on a resume, but if they're technically coming into this and taking a down step and they're not as hyped about it, but it's like I want to make money and this is good enough. Like, dude, I don't want that person on my team. I want someone who's almost feels like they're not worthy of having the role because they're going to get in and work so much harder.
Yeah,
So
man.
try not to catch people off the down step. Try to like put them in positions to like move up. So I would say those two things are like
Kind of the top,
the
like
top.
yeah,
Yeah,
traits.
like if I see those, then there's a good chance like they can figure it out. For I guess like the people that don't do as well. I was gonna hit on this when we were talking about the inbound thing, like going straight
Yeah.
to inbound. But it's like when you think about it, like as a biz op, like inbound sales, like what kind of person does that attract? Like generally, if you've never done the outbound stuff, it's like, oh, this is like it's gonna come to me, right? Like you
Right.
just kind of think about like this person is looking for the easy route. So I would say someone that's looking for the easy route, that is usually someone they're like, I want to make 20K a month, but take
Yeah.
3 calls a day. Like I don't really want that person on the team, to be honest.
If that's kind of like the forefront of their mind,
Yeah,
right?
they're
I
like, I
agree.
want to make the most with doing the least.
Least. Exactly.
It should be the other way. Not it should be. I'm sorry. It shouldn't be completely the other way around.
Yeah.
Like you shouldn't want to do the most and make the least, but you should flip that around a little bit.
Yeah, I what I've noticed is my top A player closers and even my SDR setters is they're grateful for the inbound, but they're doing that, maximizing it, and
Yeah.
then adding on top of that, right?
Yeah.
Like one of my guys, Ahmed, makes 25K comms, and he's just like hungry. He's like, okay, cool. A call's canceled. Okay, let me go pick up the phone and just start dialing my pipeline or start dialing
Hmm.
the cold lead list. Like, it's not so much like he understands what it means to continue to stay hungry while being at the top of his game.
Yeah.
That's what I think is like that hunger trait is so key for the top guys because and that's oftentimes when you're kind of beginning and you have something to prove, you have that trait. But what I see is after like 1, 2, 3 years of being on top, you kind of start to slowly lose that hunger
Yeah.
and you kind of get complacent.
I think that one thing in this high ticket space too is a lot of the companies like they don't care about the sales reps, and it shows. Like they don't.
Holy shit.
No base pays, commission only, and commission only. There's a time and a place for it. It can work very well, but it can also backfire. But it's like if the sales rep doesn't feel that the company is committed to them,
Yeah.
why are they going to go and go all out and cold call leads or dial through leads when a no show happens? So I think there's a little bit of an expectation to be managed there for sure.
Yeah, expectation and managements, and that's one of the things that I think is really important to like kind of highlight. And I'd love to kind of get your intake on this, right? Because so many of the times, when I was a full-time closer, I would have business owners who just weren't really sales guys or didn't really understand the sales process. They were like really good coaches or really good
Yeah.
marketers, but they kind of treated their sales reps almost like a commodity,
Hmm.
right? And that's why they never could retain their top players.
Yeah.
And obviously, what I kind of want to highlight is you made this transition from going and being in, traditional sales, then remote sales. And what I've really noticed is the past year, you started to go really all in on, being a business owner, an agency owner, like a sales leader. If you're open to it, I'd love to kind of hear your journey from how that kind of looked like from being a closer and that transition to really having your own agency and what that looked like.
Yeah, so I guess for context for anyone that doesn't know, like since I've kind of had the agency, but it was like really like a freelance consulting thing.
Yeah.
Just because I had a little social media platform and I had inbound stuff. So I just was doing work as it came. But it was pretty much like late last year, like November or so, when we really started to dial in and start picking up like management clients, fully outsourced sales teams. And like one of the first things I said in the podcast is like I found sales as the vehicle, and then I just tried to optimize for more leverage, more leverage, more leverage. And it naturally led from closer to sales management, where I was one team, I was managing 10 people in the high ticket space.
Yeah.
Across the world. They had like US, Europe, Asia.
Yeah, man.
And then sales management into, well, I still have these inbound leads. Like, how can I capitalize on this? And then just started stacking. But I partnered up with a guy named Cole. He's on Twitter too. I'm not sure if you.
Cole, what's his last name?
Angel.
Shell. Yeah.
He doesn't post too much, but he used to work with like Closify back in the day.
Yeah.
He's closed a lot, and we were kind of in the same stage of life of like, we got this skill, we made money, we're doing well. Like, what's next?
Yeah.
And we're like, well, we could do it together and probably do more. And so, yeah, we partnered up November of last year and then just like ran with it. And now like that, it's grown to a point where I didn't really think it would grow to. So it's been cool.
Dude, it's been honestly awesome to see that growth in that journey for you. Because I remember when we did the podcast last summer, you were from my recollection, I think you were still obviously like doing a lot of closing. You had obviously your community, the serial sales community. And then what I saw the evolution was you really started going on a more B2B level, right? And scaling. Like, talk us through kind of how you were able to go through that journey of scale, because that was one of my biggest issues. Was last summer I was like managing 4 sales teams at once, and I was like losing my head trying to do that. And I, looking back in hindsight, is because I didn't have the right systems and I didn't have the right team. So what do you feel like has really led to you to be able to scale successfully over the past year?
Yeah. Sorry, dude.
Yeah, no worries.
Allergies are killing me out here, dude.
Yeah.
I would say like division of labor. So I'm not really hands-on managing many of the teams myself. I do a lot of the operations. I do a lot of like sales and marketing for the agency because I have like the bigger personal brand, so I kind of drive more leads.
Yeah.
But my partner Cole is more hands-on with the sales reps.
So he was kind of more like the operations side. You're kind of more like the marketing acquisition side, or how do you guys kind of divvy it up?
Sorry. He's more like hands-on with like the strategy behind how we're selling on the teams, and then working with the sales managers to work with the sales reps. So that's one thing. Like we bring in sales managers too. So we're trying to build it big enough to where like we're not day-to-day managing the teams ourselves.
Smart. Yeah.
But there's a lot of people involved, so we got to make sure everything is like very tight feedback loops and all that.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense. So Cole's a little bit more like in the trenches, specifically with like the sales training and like, making sure that that obviously the talent is like, firing all cylinders. What do you find is your biggest focus with this company? Like, what do you kind of like have your eye on the ball on?
I want to like build it to sell. Not saying I want to sell, but I want to build it into a business that cash flows very well and doesn't drive me up a fucking wall.
Yeah.
Like,
amen to that.
Sales management, dude, it is a full-time job. And if you're doing it on 3 teams, that's 3 full-time jobs. So like, you got to have the people in place. You got to have the systems and processes, the tech, the software, all that stuff. So that's kind of my like North Star, is like building this so that way, if I wanted to, I could replace myself within it. And that kind of like requires different stuff on all aspects of it, from marketing, sales, to client communication, to the operations on the back end, to the recruiting and the hiring process. Like there's so many moving parts. So yeah,
it's a lot, man.
it's
Because
a lot.
it's like that's how I felt last summer. Was I had 4 sales teams, and I was trying to do it fractionally. But the truth is, even if you want to do it fractionally, if you are the bottleneck, which I was,
Yeah.
what's going to happen is they're going to expect a full-time job from you, right? They pay you with the
Yeah.
expectation of like, hey, you are the sales manager, and I don't care if you have other clients, like
Yeah.
you got to serve us. So that is the thing with like service-based businesses. And I think you guys have done a really good job of like you really zooming out and like building the actual systems, building the actual structure and the team right under you, which is phenomenal. What do you feel like has been your biggest challenge through this journey, but then also like your biggest like proud moment that you kind of look back at this thing as like, okay, damn,
Yeah.
I'm stoked about that.
Well, before I answer those,
Yeah.
just to share this because it's crazy. I met with a dude who does something similar. He runs 17 teams by himself.
17. Oh,
Just let that sit for a sec. But anyways, so like biggest challenge is probably like delegating, dude.
yeah.
Because I didn't even realize that you hear people say this. It's like once you get to a certain point, it's all about hiring, right? And I'm like thinking still from like the sales rep or sales management lens, and then I kind of had this realization one day. It's like, dude, I am tapped out with what I can do. If I want to go further, I need to hire.
Yeah.
It's not just hire setters or hire closers. Like it's like hire an operator, which we just did. Hire a bookkeeper, which we just did. So starting to make like the other key hires like that. So delegating is hard because also I'm one of those guys where like I think I can do everything good enough. And I feel like maybe I just have difficulty communicating how to do things to for other people. But in my mind, it takes me less time to just go do it by myself than to teach someone how to do it. And then if it's not done right, then I still have to step
Go
in.
back. Yeah.
So it's an investment you have to make. So that's the hardest part about it for me. Just like kind of relinquishing control. And then
What are you most proud of? Like looking back at the year?
yeah, most proud of, I mean, we've never churned a client since November of
Wow, dude,
full management.
Fucking congrats. I mean, that's almost a year at this point. Like what? We're 2 months away, so like 10 months of just a solid track record. Most sales agencies, for you guys to have context, will keep a client for maybe 3 to 4 months. Like maybe, right? That's what I've seen is kind of like an average for sales agencies. So the fact that you're coming up on a year and you haven't churned, dude, that speaks volumes. So tell us more about that.
I mean, so it's not like we've had every team since November.
Yeah.
But we've continued to stack. We really stacked up a lot in like April.
Yeah.
Or April, May. But yeah, man, we try to build the service so that one, it's really good and valuable. But we want it to be sticky. You know, we don't want it to be like we build all this stuff, we're technically owning it, but they could just fire us and take it all. We don't want that. Because you see that sometimes like with the setters or closers.
Yeah.
You know, if you bring them in under you and then they're like, well, we don't need you anymore, but we like the closer, like let's keep them. Like we're trying to avoid that. But we also want to charge a lot of money so we can properly fulfill the service at scale across multiple accounts. So
having a little bit more ownership of like talent and things like that, the systems, like is that what you mean?
Yeah, so our idea is just like provide as much value as possible and make it as sticky as possible. That way we don't have to be on this like hamster wheel of finding new clients.
Yeah.
And also from like a rep perspective, it's hard to pull the top talent into something that's going to be super short-lived. And
exactly.
If you do that once, they're like, well, I worked with him already and it didn't last that long, so I'm going to go do something else. So we want to make sure that like we're protecting our reputation on the client front, but also the front with all the sales reps that we know.
I think that's the most important piece, man. I think if you are a salesperson who's gone through the gamut, right, and you realize that one of the biggest issues in this space is a high ticket sales rep is just honestly sometimes the agency doesn't really treat you well or the business owner doesn't treat you well. So you are like that the confidant on both ends. Like you are the bridge between them, and I think that is the most important piece is not just trust and a loyalty from obviously your clients and the business owners, but a trust and a loyalty with like the reps, right? So with that being said, like if you don't mind me asking, I don't know if you can share this, but like how many reps are you guys managing at this point now?
We have like about 30 people
Wow.
under us. Yeah, most of those are reps. It's like maybe like 2 or 3 like admin or like just like agency type hires.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like 30 sales reps or
Wow.
like 27 or so.
Wow, man, that's crazy. Both setters and closers.
Setters, closers, and sales managers. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Wow.
we'll now we're at the point we used to hands-on manage each account, and then we realized we can't do it with the level of quality that we want and continue scaling. So now we come in with either like team leads or like sales managers, someone who's going to close and manage, or we have a couple
Like
people
the hybrid role.
they just manage, which we have to bake in a bigger percent for. But we'll usually have one of those people manage like 2 or 3 accounts.
Oh, okay.
So-
So it's like one sales manager has like 2 or 3 accounts.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
And then, dude, we provide them an opportunity to make $50K a month in the agency, which is
Wow.
cool. And
That's
they don't have
big,
to,
bro.
They don't have to worry because, like, as an individual manager, if you're an individual manager, but you just go stack offers, like, if those offers fall through, you don't know where your next one's coming from. Whereas us, these guys like it because we go out and find the deals. We hand them the work.
Yeah, you're already building an ecosystem what actually creates more retention and like these managers want to freaking do good,
Yeah.
right?
They're actually, dude. So we have 2 right now. We're looking for a third,
Yeah.
and they're both of them have brought their own deals into the agency, full
Wow.
management. So like that, from the perspective of like ownership, is like, oh, these guys are bought in. Like it's cool because I'm not going to say any names on here, but like they're people who have sales training programs. There's people, or they're people who have a social media following. They could go do this on their own, but everyone is so focused on like the big picture in mind, which is stack 20, 30 teams, build a freaking big ass agency.
Yeah.
And like really all of us are then in a position of leverage because as we do get to a bigger point, we'll probably have like managers. I don't want to make it sound too like corporate-y, but we'll probably have someone who is then overseeing like managers.
Yeah.
So
kind of like a director or VP of sales kind of level.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, I mean, it's kind of the vision there.
Dude, that's epic, man. Good for you guys. Like that's awesome to hear how you guys have done it because, you know, and especially since like I kind of see in the marketing and on Money Twitter and even like, you know, Instagram ads like, hey, are you a sales rep? You should start a sales agency and like go through that model. But like, dude, having gone through that, like to be honest, not every high ticket closer should be going straight into the agency model. It's not easy. You got to worry about marketing. You got to worry about delivery, operations. Like just because you are a good closer does not mean you'll always be a great manager or a business owner. That's what I've had to kind of like learn the hard way. And so for you, what do you think when you made that transition, right? Did you have like a lock-in moment? Like what did you kind of have to like from a mindset shift standpoint, really commit to when you made that jump? Because it's not just like, oh, I'm going to go do this, right? Like personally speaking, it takes a lot.
Yeah.
So what was kind of that moment for you last year in November that led you to do that?
Yeah, dude, it is very operationally complex, and I didn't realize it until I was like in it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think, man. It kind of fell in our lap, to be honest, and
Just organically.
we
naturally,
just like picked up a team, we picked up another team, and then we're like, wait, we're kind of doing a sales agency right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I realized this too. Like I've tried other agency models, and with the sales agency in particular, because you have to hire people, you have to hire good talent, and pay, you know, you probably US based, have sales experience. Like they're not here to make $4K a month.
Yeah.
They're not.
exactly.
They're not like VAs. So other agencies, like an email marketing agency, you could go hire like whoever, like freaking college interns, like communication students. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I realized, like, dude, you have to hire good talent, but then you have to quote in a price range that fits within the allocation for sales within a company. So like the margin on it for the operational complexity, like it creates a moat to where I don't think the average person should get into it unless you have the resources kind of at your disposal to do that. Because I've seen that too. People are now running the biz op of like, oh, just start like a sales consultancy or like a sales agency. It's like, dude, you never even closed before. Like, why are you gonna do, why are you gonna do that?
So true.
Some days I think, dude, because we have sales reps that, like you mentioned, you have a guy that does 20, 25. Like we have guys that do that too, and I'm like, damn, dude, that's a sweet gig. Like we just feed them leads.
Easy, simple. You don't gotta worry about shit. Like it's really nice, man.
Yeah, but yeah, dude, it's a handful. It's a tough business model to run. That's why we are in a position. We had some early success, and then now we're just like reinvesting in the foundation. We just hired like a legal team to like redo all of our agreements and go through our stuff and like check for compliance and all this stuff. So we're just like pouring back into it, trying to get the foundation.
Nice, man. So one of the things I think I saw a tweet this morning, it was like 0 to like 400K, correct? For one of your teams. What do you felt like was like some of the key reasons for that success for that scale? Like obviously we've talked about delegation and having the right systems, but what do you think just worked really well with this one?
Here's a crazy hot take, but like actually it's not a hot take, it's a reality, but it's might be crazy to think about. We don't have we across all of our teams, maybe people have their own, like we don't have sales scripts.
Yeah, I like that. I totally agree with that.
Launch with those. And so I think that's a testament to the level of talent that we have access to. So I run the sales community. My partner, Cole, has been on like a bunch of teams that did really well and had those salespeople. So one is like our access to people that are really good.
Yes.
Like I said, we're getting people in that run the sales, like their own sales trading programs, and they've closed millions and millions. So that, and then also the people that we're partnering with. So some of these early deals that we came in on, like we came in on them on complete rev share basis, which we wouldn't do as easily now. Because
completely rev share, no base, none of that.
Because they had a track record. So we knew that the marketing partner involved in this project has driven results. We've worked with them before. That gave us confidence to go into it. So it's the talent, it's the people that we work with, but then also the last thing I'll add is like it's the offer, because you've probably seen like there's like waves of like, oh, right now this is the hot offer, like in 2020 or 2021, 22, like the e-com, like done for you, that space was huge, right? But now
hand over fist.
Yeah, if you try to get into that, it's like good luck. It's an uphill battle.
Yeah.
So finding good offers that can hit, depending on the marketing channel, that are going to hit on that channel, having the right people, and then what was the last thing? Oh, working with the right people, like the right partners, the right marketing, the right fulfillment teams, all that stuff. Yeah,
man. I think that's kind of been the thing that I've observed about your team is like you just got A players when it comes to like leadership, and you got A players when it comes to the management, the closers. Like you got that dialed down. I mean, like Hermosi and Alex and Layla always talk about that. It's like your recruiting funnel like actually is like the thing oftentimes you should be looking at, and not enough people look at that, right?
Yeah.
And you think about it, sales is it is a talent driven model. If you don't have good A players, if you don't have good closers or setters, you could have some of the best trainers in the world, but if you're trying to turn a C player into like an A player, it's like that's an uphill battle.
Yeah, it's
right.
Tough.
So I think that speaks testament to like you surrounding yourselves with the right people. You like you said, not everything falls on you, which is like really important, right?
Yeah, dude. It's a very, like I said, it's a very interesting model. It's one that we kind of just fell into, and then we had a little success, and just we're like, because we realized when we started to have success, we realized like this is a lot of work.
Yeah.
And we're like, do we double down? Do we build a strong foundation and scale it, or do we actually we never really even came to that point of like, do we not do this? But we're just like, this is the time to double down. Let's do it.
Yeah.
So it's been a blur, dude. Like every day, like if I'm thinking back through since when we started, it's just like one day at a time.
Yeah, man.
A lot of calls, pretty repetitive, just chipping away at it.
Yeah, I was laughing. I was like one of your tweets was like, your desk set up for the day, and like just it was like snacks, like coffee, all this. I was like, man, this boy's probably going to be locked in for like back-to-back meetings because I've been there, man. So that being said, like, What does kind of like your day-to-day look like now, right? Because most people, they might be used to obviously just like the closer model. It's like, oh, they just see a bunch of meetings, they hop in a huddle, they take their calls, and then they end their day.
Hmm.
Obviously, being in a higher leadership position, what does your day-to-day look like now?
Yeah, dude. For a while, I was firefighting, like,
Yeah,
and
that's
that that like I would say it's September now. Maybe in like June or July, I was firefighting so much where I was like kind of burning out a little bit,
yeah, man.
and I couldn't.
Yeah.
I like to like take pride in my work, and I like to do deep dives and get into the intricacies of like improving things. And I was just like pulled in so many directions that I couldn't do that. Now I'm like slowly we're building the foundation to get me out of that so I can work on the higher level stuff. So average day, I mean, dude, I try to get active for sure. Like that's one thing that like I have to do. Like I have to go outside
Yeah.
or I have to go to the gym, because if I'm just locked in on the computer all day, like and then you do that day in, day out. I work on the weekends too. A lot of times
Yeah.
it's tough. So I get active, whether it's gym in the morning or a run in the afternoon or both. And then a lot of internal calls. I still take like sales calls for the agency
Nice.
for our like we do one off like recruiting, consulting, build outs, internal calls, and then just one off stuff from like having I guess like a small personal brand, like meeting people.
Yeah.
Not too many podcasts, like I said, this is my
Yeah.
first one here, but yeah, doing that and then just being available, man. That's the thing about sales, which you probably found like when something is needed, there's usually money on the line.
Yes.
Like if you don't get this contract access to your closer, you're going to lose a deal.
Yeah.
Or if you don't get this payment link or this processor access, you're going to lose a deal. And that's why like the sales agency, if you're not getting results, it's a very quick thing to usually be kicked out of or replaced because you're losing the company a lot of money.
Yeah.
Um,
You're the first person they're looking at. So it's like, hey, are they getting results or they're not? It's pretty binary,
Yeah.
right? It's like data driven. It's like they look at the numbers like, okay, cool. Like
Yeah.
we're not bringing money here. Like you got 30 days left, you know?
Yeah. But
Yeah.
that's the average day, dude. Like go outside, be available, internal calls, meet people. Um, I like to like go work from like coffee shops, cool
Yeah.
stuff like that. But if I have too many calls, I won't. Um, but I'm trying to get more into like the creative, into the content stuff because like
Nice.
that is probably that based on like where everything stands, it's probably the highest leverage thing that I can't do for the entire operation.
Yeah, 100%. I want to talk about content a little bit here, but I think what I want to touch on first, because what you said is so important, is like that idea of burnout, right? I think that is a thing that not a lot of sales reps think about. They feel it, but they kind of, at least my personal experience and also training, coaching reps, is they try to suppress it, right? They're like, kind of get that hustle mindset mode, like, let me just do more calls, do this, do this. And then you realize you get people 1 or 2 years in who do that for so long that they just end up quitting or burning out.
Yeah.
So for you, what are the things that you mentioned obviously working out, getting active, but what are some of like the fun hobbies, things that you like to do, things that you like to practice to get away from kind of the burnout? Like tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. I'm in Austin, Texas, which is there's a big scene for this stuff there.
Yeah, great place.
So I would just say like connecting with other people that get it, you
Yeah.
know, because I used to be in San Antonio is when I started in the online space and I tried to gain traction, but there was nobody around me that got it. And so like
Yeah, bro. I
it
get
just
that.
kind of felt like I was like banging my head against the wall. So one thing that like really helps me in those times is just like getting perspective from other people, and talking to whether they're doing coaching, agency, software, whatever, and like hearing some of their challenges and realizing like this is just part of it. Like if you want this end result, like you're not going to get it without 100 challenges,
Facts.
1,000 challenges. So yeah, getting connected to guys that are also pushing through and realizing that like, hey, this guy over here probably has a bigger problem than I'm facing right now. So
Perspective is a cure, bro. Like it really is.
perspective. And then, dude, I don't know. Like maybe this is just because I'm from like South Central Texas, San Antonio, but like being in a place that has sunlight and warm weather Like,
Game changer, bro.
dude, I don't know how people like. Okay, we're in New York right now.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. It's September, and it's I don't know, maybe 75, 80
Yeah,
degrees, sunny. But in the winter, dude, like, it's not me.
Dude, that's why I literally 1 month out of the winter I will be living in Hawaii. Like
Yeah.
like I've done that twice now, and it's like the biggest hack and game changer because it is real, bro. Seasonal depression here in New York. I see it with people here. There's a joke here because everyone's always like mean and like doesn't want to do anything during the winter, but as soon as like spring or summer goes out, everyone's trying to get after it. And it goes from like your friends not wanting to talk to you for like 3 months to like everyone's to get after it. So I 100% get you. Vitamin D, sunlight, literally a game changer, and I think it's necessary.
Yeah. Even the thing is like, okay, sunlight is part of it, but also when you are outside, because if I'm inside, if I'm chilling on the couch in my living room, I just have like such easy access to my laptop, to my phone. And you have to like intentionally, whether you're a sales rep, agency owner, manager, whatever, you have to like intentionally block time off for yourself to let you process thoughts and all that stuff. Yeah. And so when I'm outside, I'm either walking, I'm running, I'm lifting, whatever. It just makes it easier because, dude, I don't know if you're the same way. Like I'm probably addicted to my phone because the notifications and
Slack,
the
WhatsApp.
Yeah, it's just like it's so easy to get my attention, so you have to put it away, and it just makes it easier. Like it's like I don't know. You get away from your phone, process your thoughts, get in shape because I'm probably walking, running, or something like that.
Yeah,
and then get some sun, feel good. Like it's a win-win situation.
Dude, I think it's so important. Like one of the things that has really helped me in my journey is actually having a hobby that is not business related at all. So like learning how to like DJ, learning how to like get back in piano, having a musical creative outlet that like literally forces my brain to not be in sales mode, I think has been one of the biggest blessings because it really is a marathon, not a sprint, as cliche as that is, but like everyone wants to like hit the leaderboards. Everyone wants to be a top performer. Everyone wants to do this so quick. But you realize that is why you see a lot of young people in sales and not older people is because older people like just can't function at that high octane for 30 plus years, right? And part of the success in sales is not just, this is what I've at least learned, is not just being a top performer for like 2 or 3 months. It's how do I consistently be a top performer for years? And that requires you to have just as much recovery and rejuvenation practices than it does like, what do I need to do in terms of like hustling?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You gotta have, I think too, I made a post about this the other day, but like you need to have something to chase that is not tied to like a business or income.
Yes.
Because, you know, a lot of us in this space, like we do get thrill out of pushing the business forward, hitting milestones. I'll be the first to admit, like I love to see some bigger numbers in the bank or the Stripe account, but challenging yourself in a different way. Like that's why I started running.
Yeah.
Because it was healthy.
I see you hit 9, 10 miles, 11 miles.
Central Park.
Easy.
Light work. Yeah. It was beautiful out there, by the way. But like, yeah, dude, something that is not tied to your income so that way you can step away. So like an athletic activity is probably the most beneficial, right? Yeah. I don't go out like, I go out like socially. I've done it, you know, here in New York with the boys because we're in, you know, that's just what we're doing. But like when I'm in Austin, like, dude, I'm pretty locked in. Like I'm being pretty productive. I'm, you know, trying to eat healthy, eat clean, be in shape, all that stuff. So I've not yet gotten into like combat sports, but I know that's coming up soon. Fun. Yeah. Actually, I'm training for the marathon. So like that's like my goal that like no matter what kind of day I had in the agency, no matter what bullshit came across, or even if it was a great day, like it's a reset.
It is. You know? Yeah. I'm training for a half right now, which is funny because last year most I ever ran was like 2 miles, and I did like an 8.5 miler the other week, and I was like, dude, it is literally the best unplugging thing to do because you can't. It's hard to think about shit when you're like just trying to lock it and get in flow state running. I agree with you.
That's what I like about the like having it be a physical thing is because when you're like you're not thinking about this unhappy client when you're literally, it's like, dude, I just need air, right? Like, it's like everything gets blocked out with running. With walking, like, I used to walk a lot because it's healthy and, you know, thinking I listen to podcasts, but like, I can find myself still thinking, like, my brain just naturally goes towards business and all that because it's my focus. But with running, it's like, I'm like checking the watch, like, got to keep the pace up, got to make sure my breathing's good.
Got to make sure my
Should I
heart
stop
rate's
for water?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like totally like in your own world,
Yeah,
which
man.
has been refreshing.
That's nice.
Yeah.
So as we kind of wrap things up, I think what this has been a big thing for me is I started to really like have a personal brand and start posting content like last year around like April, May. And I wrote a tweet about this, but it has like been the number one decision I've ever made because opportunities, not even from just a business standpoint, from a social standpoint, relationship standpoint, traveling standpoint, connection standpoint, like has all been created because of a personal brand.
Yeah.
So speak to a little bit about like what you've kind of been going through in your personal brand content. Like what have you kind of discovered through building yours?
Yeah, the same as you. Like I would even say it's like my biggest asset right now. Like I would, if someone was like, give me all your social media accounts or give me all the money in your bank account,
Yeah.
I would, it'd be a tough pill to swallow, but I'd be like, take the money, like I can make it back, you know?
exactly.
Um,
I agree with that.
but yeah, dude, it's been awesome because like I mean, we wouldn't be here right now doing this if we're literally making content, right? So,
Yeah, if we didn't connect on Twitter and yeah, exactly, man.
and like I wouldn't be in New York, so this is my first time here. I don't remember if I said that already, but like I'm here because of a personal brand. Like I got a company paid for me to come out here.
Yeah, epic.
It helps us attract talent for the agency. It helps us attract clients for the agency. And it's awesome, dude. Like you get, I'm not like huge level status. Like I have like, I don't know, 10,
Was it 10, 11
10K
and Twitter?
Yeah. And like
Can't forget about the TikTok, bro.
the TikTok's a little bigger, but like the quality's down. But
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
like even at that level, dude, like you, I've been recognized a few times, not a few times, like more than a few times, but like when you meet people, like you get better treatment.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, 100%.
it's like, wow, this guy, like, he knows enough to have 10,000 followers. Like his opinions, like his thoughts, his ideas might be worth listening to,
Yes.
you know?
And I think it's so important from like even just a impact standpoint. Like, dude, my I launched YouTube a few months ago and it has literally only a little bit over 100 subscribers. But the amount of times that you'll get comments or people will reach out to you, it's like, hey, I saw that video. Like, I literally needed it at this moment. Like, it's, you know, there's a lot of haters and trolls on the internet, but I don't really care about that because the signal for me and the thing that keeps me going with content is like, you get those reach outs, you get those DMs, you get those comments of like people's true mindsets are being shifted just by content. I think that's what I personally have found is one of the most powerful things about content is the impact that you can give, whether or not someone is even a client or joins your community or whatever, there, you can give value and contribute to the world in that extent.
Yeah, dude. Content is it's the best thing that you can do. I'm not gonna say it's the best thing you can do for yourself. It's one of the best things you can do for yourself, even if you're a sales rep, man. Because I started when I was trying to get into remote closing.
Yeah, that's right.
And my first role, literally, like part of the reason why I got it is because I had been I've been tweeting my thoughts on sales and all that. The business owner like saw that and they hired. Well, I got disqualified and then they saw that and then they ended up hiring me because they're like, it seems like he kind of knows his stuff. But yeah, dude, and especially like what I've come to realize is YouTube. You said you just started. Like YouTube is, I think, the highest intent, the best quality people come from YouTube. But yeah,
if you were to give a tier list, right? Okay, so think about all your platforms because I have mine in my head. If you were to give like a ranking of order, right, in terms of like quality and like actual like ROI for a business owner for in terms of your platforms, how would you rank that? What's your power rankings?
Yeah, dude, it depends because I use them all for different things.
Okay.
I usually post the same ideas and all that, but YouTube is like the top, but it's the hardest to gain traction on. The intent with any leads that come from YouTube is always the highest. Then it's going to be the next one has to be like one where you can get the most top of funnel. So it's either TikTok or Instagram. I'll put Instagram next because the quality on Instagram is usually better. So then if it's TikTok next, I feel like TikTok's the easiest to go viral on.
Yes.
And then Twitter. Actually, maybe I messed this up because Twitter has high intent too. Like the people that are on Twitter are different.
There's some very smart people on Twitter.
Like people are on Twitter because they want to see your thoughts, not your Lamborghini. You know?
Yeah.
So I think that the thing between Twitter and Instagram, Twitter has higher quality, but it's easier to hit a level of scale on Instagram.
Yes.
That's just been my experience. Twitter ads, like I literally don't know a single person that's run them profitably.
Sorry, hold on. It's not working, bro.
Yeah. So like, dude, I know people that are running like 10x ROAS on Meta, YouTube, all this stuff. Can't crack Twitter. So
yeah,
they all have a place though, and even LinkedIn now.
Yeah, dude.
I'm still trying to figure that out, but I know people that are crushing it on LinkedIn.
Dude, so my original power rankings, if you asked me back in 2023, I would have said Twitter number 1, Facebook, because I have a like a Facebook like following.
Yeah.
My biggest following is funny enough on Facebook. And then I would say, Instagram, TikTok, and then YouTube. And the reason why I said YouTube is because I didn't understand the power of it until this year. Because it was like with even just 100 plus subscribers, I get buyers from that. I get people who like, hey, I found you on, why did you join? Oh, I found you on YouTube. It's like, what?
Yeah.
So now that would be my 2023. My 2024, I'd say YouTube first, right? I would then say, for me at least right now, with how things are like panning out, I think my biggest next opportunity is LinkedIn, just because I find a lot of people similar to YouTube who are actually trying to have sales conversations. And I had avoided LinkedIn for the longest time, hated on it. It was like, all the boomers are on there, screw the corporate like jargon, because I hated that stuff.
Yeah.
And then I started really just posting it on the side. And then what started happening was I got impressions, but I actually started like booking sales calls from LinkedIn, closing clients from LinkedIn. So I was like, okay, I think I need to put this higher priority. Then I'd say Instagram, then TikTok and Twitter are kind of like tied. Right now, I'd probably say TikTok a little bit higher than Twitter. And Facebook's kind of like in there, kind of in the middle. Reason why I'm with you on TikTok being great for reach, my only issue with it, because I did the whole like 3 TikToks a day for like 30 days. Like I was working with Davi on that for a bit. Shout out to my boy Davi. He's awesome. My issue is I never felt like I was finding real quality conversations happening from it.
Yeah.
DMs were just not on point as they were on Instagram. And then there was a lot of like TikTok rot brain type people. So it's like they're just there to literally just like entertain themselves as opposed to like educate themselves truly.
Yeah.
Right?
TikTok is, I get inbound DMs a lot on TikTok. I don't even respond to them. I don't have a setter in there. The people that want to find out bad enough, they will go to the link in my bio. They'll click on the Instagram. They'll go to the YouTube. That's the funnel that I like have good success with. It's like usually 3 different platforms, sometimes 2. One that gives a lot of top of funnel, and then we push to the YouTube.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. I've been kind of finding that myself is like, I always need like one big top of funnel that has like good reach, right? That for me right now is like LinkedIn. It used to be Twitter. Like back in 2023, my videos were popping off on Twitter. Some of my long form was popping off. Twitter hasn't been like, just not been liking me recently.
Yeah.
Compared to how it used to. So my impressions are mostly been on LinkedIn. And then like you said, middle of the funnel, bottom of the funnel, just trying to direct them to YouTube as much as possible.
Yeah. Twitter has become like money. Twitter used to be a little bit more fun. Now it's everyone like, okay, so I feel like money Twitter is a place where like people go to LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, they go build these businesses, make this money, and then they go to Twitter to talk about it and connect with other people who are doing that.
Yeah.
But now Twitter is becoming one of those platforms that people really are trying to monetize. So like the quality of the community overall, I think has just gone down a little bit.
Yeah, I agree.
But I was going to say too, with your LinkedIn, you coming from like that more like corporate tech sales background, that definitely helps, right?
Yeah, it helps a lot. And also it's like you understand the world that these people are coming from, because like I literally would just like use LinkedIn for outbound and like use LinkedIn for sales back in the day. And I just hated it because I felt like everyone was so, it felt very corporate artificial. So everyone was
Yeah.
trying to put up this persona. Or what I loved about Twitter was there's like the boys' locker room. Like everyone's
Yeah.
just jamming,
Oh,
hanging
it's
out.
good.
And I think it is still, compared to the other platforms, it is the best place to actually have a connection, take it from virtual to in person. I mean, this is a testament right now, right? Where LinkedIn, it's more so like you're trying to pimp out a little bit of the conversations, but it's cool because everyone knows they're selling shit.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit more hand to hand combat there.
Yeah, dude, it's interesting too because on Instagram, like, I'm here in New York with a bunch of guys that are from Austin,
Yeah.
a lot of creators, some ecom guys, all that. And when I have people that are doing cool stuff that connect with me, and I see their Instagram, like obviously they probably do cool things, they have a nice life, whatever. But I'm like, I can't tell if this person actually knows their stuff. So like, I'm not going to go out of my way to like engage with them. Like one of the guys that I was here with, he actually DM'd me. I mean, he's like pretty successful. I think he does 200K a month with TikTok Shop or whatever.
Oh, fire.
And he DM'd me like, hey, dude, I'm in Austin. I want to connect. And my appointment setter caught it. But I was looking at his profile. I was just like, dude, I don't know, like, if I did catch this DM, like, would I want to connect with this guy without really knowing him?
Right.
So Twitter, like, really lets you understand people more than Instagram or...
Yeah, man. Because I think, like you said, you're right into the thinking of people, and it's kind of the same way with me, right? Like, this is one of the things that I didn't really expect about a personal brand is that you just have so many people hitting your inbox and so much noise that it's really hard. You gotta have kind of a discernment of figuring out, okay, who's legit and who's actually like going to lead to it doesn't even have to be a business relationship, but like a cool conversation where when you sit down with this person, like you actually are having a good time, right?
Right.
Because I mean, I've had some really interesting in-person meetups. Like I've been, I don't know if you ever know like Funnel Hacking Live,
Yeah.
right? Russell Brunson's thing is there's a lot of people who are really good at putting this persona in the internet, and then you go meet them at Funnel Hacking Live, and they're just a douchebag. Like, I don't even need you to necessarily be like always like the smartest person in the room, but you just got to be a kind person and like be normal.
Yeah.
It's really hard. There's a lot of ego and some like kind of assholes in the space. Is you kind of have to really be like vetting and have that filter.
Yeah.
It's important.
I think that's one thing about Twitter too. Most of the guys on Twitter, like, they're pretty chill, they're pretty reserved. They kind of see that there's bigger fish, but the guys on Instagram that do like 20, 30K a month with whatever business model, like they have some of the biggest egos. They're younger. Like, I don't know. It's crazy, man. Like, I remember when I hit like my first 10K, my first 20K online.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, I made it, right? Whether you display that outwardly or not, like there is a sense of like, wow, this is working.
Yeah.
But then there's those kids that just like take it too far. They go and they start buying all this luxury, and then they have to like keep it going, right?
Yeah. They're trying to be like they're living, I call this like, they're living someone else's definition of success as opposed to like just asking themselves the hard questions like, what is actually success for me?
Yeah.
Right? And they're trying to showcase or model something that hasn't even really been like what they truly want. And I think that's so important. It's like, it's not just about the money. It's like, there's a certain, like you said, autonomy, freedom. Like there's a certain lifestyle that you're trying to create.
Yeah. And I think maybe this is because, how old are you?
27.
Okay. So maybe this is because we're like in that age where like, oh shoot, like life is real. Like, dude, like, when you're like 21, 22, you're like, dude, I have everything to gain and nothing to lose, right?
Exactly.
But now, like, I have long-term girlfriend, and we have a dog together, and you know, there's like vision of more stuff. It's like, you know, I like nice things, and I like to have nice dinners and, you know, like clothes or whatever, trips. But like, there's a vision of like, okay, let me be smart with what I'm doing.
100%.
Like, my goal in the next probably year or so is probably buy a house in Texas, buy some land maybe.
That'd be dope.
But it's not like I couldn't have done that when I was in roofing sales. Like I could have, but I think it's just like when you get older, you're wiser. Your frontal lobe doesn't develop.
Yeah,
until
exactly.
25.
Yeah, exactly, man.
It's just funny, dude. So we were at this company WAP. We could literally see the building right there.
Shout out to WAP.
And do this thing where every week they fly people in for, if you process $500 on our platform within 7 days of launching, we're going to fly you out to New York. We're going to pay for your room and your stay. We're going to take you to a nice dinner, and we're going to put your logo up on a thing in Times Square. But I go in there, there's a lot of people in there. They do this weekly, and there's kids in there that are like 15, 14 with like iced out,
like TikTok shop, like
dude,
entrepreneur guys,
like iced out, but like their parents are there. And I'm
It's
like,
so funny.
I was like, dude, this is insane. But yeah, I mean, maybe, and also like, not to say that's wrong, but like, it's just crazy. There's like different perspectives, right?
Yeah, man. And I think I think similar to what you're talking about. As I got older, I just realized that, especially meeting some people here in New York, people just make money, bro. Like,
Yeah.
there's always going to be a bigger fish. There's always going to be someone that's like, okay, cool, you have a, $2 million, $3 million, $4 million business, but then you meet some like guys who are literally like 10 million, 20 million, $30 million in their business because they're 50. They're not showy about it. They just understand, they just love the game, right?
Yeah.
So there's always going to be different levels. There's always going to be different perspectives. And I think one of the things that I at least try to hold on to is something that my parents really taught me is like, no matter what level of success you have to have a level of humility and understand there's always someone bigger than you.
Yeah.
And you don't know who you're talking to in that room. And that's why I think it's so important to just like, I think you had a tweet about this, but you just got to treat people like they're human, right?
Yeah.
And as long as you have some level of success, I think as long as you continue to curate that mindset of, hey, everyone is just another human being at the end of the day, I think that's what truly matters, at least in my, one of my values.
Yeah, dude, because you never know what you never know what people will go and do, and I think just above all, like being a considerate person, whether that dude makes $5K a month or $500K a month,
Yeah.
not in like a super selfish way, like, oh, how can this benefit me? But like, you just never know what's going to happen when you'll need someone to lean on. And then also just like the concept of like putting good into the world, it comes back to you.
100%.
So
cool. Well, hey, any last words or last shout outs? Dylan has an awesome community, Serial Sales. If you don't know him, definitely check that out. But anything else you want to say to the audience before we wrap up here?
I don't know. I guess depending on who's listening to this, if it's probably a lot of sales reps.
Yeah. Sales reps, business owners, I think people with sales teams.
Yeah, I think, dude, like if you just get into a position, like learn a high income skill. If you're listening, you probably chose sales.
Yeah.
And then you just find a way that you can sustainably do that for longer than most people. You'll live a better life than most people. You'll set yourself up and the people you love for a better life than most people. And it really does just come down to a point of like not quitting.
Yeah.
Like
persistence.
If you're going to pursue that, if you're going to pursue sales or like, let's say, high income skill, like coding or something like that, like you need to be expecting it to get hard. And if you're not coming to times where you're like, shit, dude, like, am I doing the right thing? Then you're probably you're not doing anything that's worth doing long term.
Yeah.
Because if it were easy, everyone would do it, right?
Yep.
So
that's right.
If you guys are watching this, find something that's hard, that's proven, and just don't stop doing it until you get what you want out of it. So
cool. Well, hey y'all, you heard it from the legend himself. Dylan, thank you again for being on this, man. It was a pleasure. And we'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.